Joining us now is OjyOkpe, with stories trending around the world.
Hello, Jinx. You never get tired, do you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Perfect. Ayo Mario Essay. Good morning, Rufi on fire.
Morning, Oji.
How are you this morning? Perfect. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending in Kaduna State, where the state governor, Uba Sani, has imposed a 24-hour curfew after peaceful protests turned violent. The End Bad Governance protest, which entered its 5th day on Monday, saw thousands of demonstrators waving the Russian flag in the state while chanting slogans demanding the removal of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and calling on Russian President Vladimir Putin to come to their aid as they marched on major streets. The protest was said to be the largest in the state. Let's take a look.
Today's date is 5th of August. Live here and direct from Kaduna. This is a protest. They call it the mother of protest. This comes after the Mr. President's speech on Sunday morning, which he could not address any of their plight. So they say a hungry man is an angry man. So short while there was a police in this place, but due to the strong number of the people, they chased them away. So this is Kaduna.
That was unbelievable to see. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State Police Command has arrested 39 suspects in connection with inciting violence and displaying the Russian flag, as well as vandalizing public and private property in various parts of the state capital. The suspects included the tailor, who produced the Russian flags and Chinese flags for the protesters. The spokesman for the state's police command, Mansour Hassan, said the suspects exploited the End Bad Governance protest and unleashed violence against innocent residents. He also said some protesters overran an armored personnel carrier loaded with live ammunition in the Tudunwada area of the state. Rufai, Ayo, Dr. Abati, you know this video was circulating on social media and people were saying that, the protesters hijacked the armored vehicle. But obviously that didn't happen because the police has now come out to say that the policeman was still in the vehicle and it was just that the protesters, surrounded the vehicle. But also the issue of the Russian flag. You all have discussed it, which is, treasonable at most. Horrific scenes that we saw in Kaduna State. I believe about 800 suspects have been arrested so far in Kaduna State. And as I said, the governor has imposed a 24-hour curfew to put calm in the state. But we also saw other videos. We saw videos circulating of young people were calling for the military to intervene. Let's take a look. I mean, that was another scene that was quite shocking. So many dimensions to this story, which I would like for us to discuss. I mean, you saw the military there. At least this time around, they displayed calm. They were asking the protesters to get off their vehicle. And also the policeman we saw earlier, they showed courtesy to the protesters. Well, in the meantime, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, after a high-level security meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Monday, warned protesters against flying foreign flags, saying that it is a treasonable offense. Musa also condemned those pushing for a change of government, stating that security agencies will defend democracy.
We're also aware that all of us have seen it, where some foreign flags have been flown within the sovereignty of Nigeria, and that is totally unacceptable. We are warning in clear terms, and the President has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is a treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also, the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and make sure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government.
All right, this is quite reassuring. It's good to see that the security forces here are saying that they stand for democracy, because obviously that is the only way, our nation can stand. It's good to see General Christopher Musa there address us in the manner that he has done.
I mean, I'm excited that he has reassured us, but I'd like to talk about what is happening in Katsina and Kano. It's very sad that we have young people now being used for all sorts of political messaging, especially coming out from that flank. Now, I realize it's not only the Russian flag, it's also the Chinese flag, which are some sub-sentiments around the West African area. And these sentiments stem from Niger. And that's why we would like to say boldly, nobody must use this protest to be able to push Russian or Chinese or Nigerian propaganda. This is about hunger, this is about poverty. And anybody that is beating this drumbeat of war must be cautioned. Those people they're just being used. Those children, I must say. Because look at them, they're kids. But that is also a sore point as regards Nigeria. The level of poverty, deprivation, and hunger that makes it easy for you to use children to do something like that, to drive home a point like that. So the military must investigate. Absolutely. That tailor must tell us who gave him the brief to make those flags. He must be forced to talk, and other people connected with him, be it people in the political sector, one way or the other, must be made to account for that. Because these people are just trying to turn the protest for their own selfish interests. And secondly, the protesters singing, it's also part of the script that they want the military. We don't want the military.
Yeah. And they've said that
the military government is not a better government. Let's stop acting like they were heroes when they led. The military is not good for Nigeria. No matter how much we have our problems democratically, I can never, on God's earth, support a return to the tyrannical rule of the military. Please, let's get that clear once and for all.
Good point, Rufai. But Dr. Bati, it's good to see that, they've arrested the tailor, and the fact still remains that we are still waiting for the sponsors of the protest. The Kaduna State government has said that they are at this moment interviewing the tailors that we saw there on the screen, and they hopefully will release some names very soon. But before I come to you, Dr. Abati, several posts on social media have suggested that one of the flags behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his national address on Sunday was Russian. To set the record straight, the second flag behind the national flag, which bore 4 colors, red, blue, white, and green, belongs to the Nigerian Armed Forces, It signifies that Tinubu is the commander-in-chief as well as the president. The four-band flag should not be confused with the Russian flag, which has three colors: white, blue, and red. Dr. Bati, I know that we have had this type of conversation before about the flags
of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That flag that you see behind the president, that's a flag signifying that he's commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Behind the president, usually, you will have the Nigerian flag, then you have the flag, which says he's commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So, I don't know. The people who were the tailors in Kaduna and in Kano who were sewing the flag, they left out the green color.
Yeah.
And that is why people are saying, oh, it is the flag of Russia. So there's some confusion here. Whether one is the Russian flag or it is the flag of the Nigerian military, which is the one that makes our president commander-in-chief. But whatever it is, if it is the Russian flag, we have to be worried.
Yes.
It's a big warning to the Nigerian government. It's a lot of caution for the Nigerian government. Considering the role that Russia and the Wagner mercenaries have played in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali.
Absolutely.
Professor Akintenewa, who is a subject area expert, has said that, in fact, he suspects that those people carrying the so-called Russian flag are probably persons from Niger. If Professor Akintenewa has information and is right on what he's saying, then we should be worried that there is such a huge population of people from Niger in northern Nigeria. And that's why I think yesterday it was a good idea that the president summoned an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, which was attended not just by the service chiefs, but also by the heads of customs, immigration, civil defense, and other security agencies in Nigeria. Because we run a risk here. People of Ukraine and the West are not likely to be happy that people are already carrying Russian flags inside Nigeria. In Kano, in fact, the report in Daily Trust newspaper said people were saying, welcome Russia, welcome Russia. No, Russia is not welcome here. Because that would turn this environment called Nigeria into a battleground for proxy war, which is what we do not want. The Russians, they are in aluminum smelter company in the south. They used to be part of OjyOkpe, and they are no longer there. So there is some Russian interest here. And Russia is also seeking to expand its interest in West Africa.
Yes.
Now, the analysis has also said those carrying Russian flags, if they are from Niger, they are probably protesting against President Tinubu because of his role as chairman of ECOWAS in standing up against military intervention in Niger. Right. Now, the second part of it is military intervention. In fact, that is high treason.
Absolutely. We
do not want military intervention. After the return to civilian democracy in 1999, all the commentaries we did at that time, we were saying this is the second liberation for Nigeria. We do not want to enter into another era of dictatorship and occupation in Nigeria. Irony of it, of course, is that the military, they made their own contribution. That's not what I'm saying. The civilians have not even done as well as they did. But that does not justify military occupation of Nigeria. So the security agencies have their work cut out for them. And General Christopher Gwambin Musa, CG Musa, as it's otherwise known, spoke very well. By saying the military is committed to protecting this environment called Nigeria and the democracy that is inside Nigeria.
Right.
The irony again is that it's in the north that they are calling Russia, calling military. I've not heard anybody in the south talking about Russia or military rule. So again, the country is divided.
Well, if I come to you again, we at Arise News, we absolutely condemn any form of military intervention. We need democracy. Well, in Abuja, security forces fired tear gas at protesters who gathered at the Moshood Abiola Stadium on Monday morning, despite the president's address on Sunday, urging protesters to discontinue the protests. While some of the protesters said that the president was yet to address their demands. Top on their list was the return of petrol subsidy and the overhaul of NNPC, as they called for the sack of the National Oil Company's group head, Mele Kyari.
And they are using subsidy to do corruption. If he knows that he has come to stop corruption, as he has said, let him sack the GM of NNPC. We will keep on coming here till he has addressed the needs of the people. What he has addressed now is the needs of the elite, political elite and governors. So he didn't address our needs. We will be coming till we see that nobody will be calling your phone that they have not eaten since the day before yesterday.
Tinubu should probe the subsidy regime. First of all, remove the man that presided over corruption in the subsidy regime that made all of us to be suffering. Tinubu, we are calling on you. Restructure subsidy. They say seek ye the kingdom of God first. Other things shall follow. Tinubu, return subsidy. Every other thing will follow.
They're still asking for it, Ayo. Tinubu must probe the subsidy regime. But Ayo, remember that over the weekend, we saw a 2019 video showing the group managing director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, promising to repair Nigeria's 4 national refineries before 2023, sparking a wave of criticism. Let's take a look at that video.
Why can we be an oil-producing country with 4 refineries and yet importing sometimes 100% of our petroleum product requirement? It's very sad. The GMD Emeritus has told you the steps that we have taken when the Port refinery is going to be in place. But I assure you, GMD will follow it up to make sure that within the life of this administration, before Baba's tenure ends in 2023, we'll deliver only 4 refineries.
That was a beautiful round of applause there, Ayo. But you know, it's not just the protesters that are calling for the sack. There are, you know, some members of the House of Representatives have also called for his sack.
Yeah, some people have also defended him. So he had that two people, 2 sides. But going back to what he said, he didn't just make that statement. I recall when he came to the morning show for an interview, he'd given us a timeline of when the 4 refineries would work. And of course, the timelines have passed. Very recently, they'd said that the Port Harcourt refinery will begin to work by the end of last year. By the end of last year, they came out with a big show saying that it was mechanically completed, that the main aspect of the refinery was completed, and by March of this year, we'll begin to see action from Port Harcourt refinery. I don't know about you, but we haven't seen any action. The truth is that if we're looking at an organization, any kind of that, private or public, there should be processes of appraisal, especially when you've been given targets as an employee, in terms of what have you done, have you been able to meet. We cannot continue to build our nation on false promises that when they are broken, there are no consequences. So people just come out to read speeches, give assurances. This was before this present administration, when it was promising that by the end of Baba's tenure, they were going to see the 4 refineries. 1 is not even working. Yet we keep expending and allocating a lot of money towards the repair of these refineries. There are a number of things. At best, or at worst, actually, an investigation.
That's it.
How has the money that have been allocated been spent, at best? Number 2, what has been done? And why can't these refineries work? We keep talking about the fact that the fuel price, one of the reasons for the protest is the high cost of PMS and the attendant effect on other things, cost of living, food and the likes. And this is what a number of Nigerians are protesting about. If this is such a key issue that the president ought to address, then the fact that it's not working and the man at the helm of affairs must also be brought to answer, to answer certain questions. I'm not saying he's the only one working, but truthfully, as the GMD, the buck stops with him.
Yes.
He is the leader.
Yes.
He has some explaining to do, and I believe, as I've continued to say, that Nigerians deserve explanations that Mr. Kyari should give.
You hit the nail on the head, Ayo. The problem, like we've always said on this table, is a problem of leadership. He's the leader of NNPC. We need answers. But we've seen protests everywhere at this moment. Our next story is in Bangladesh. We also had issues in the United Kingdom where, 3 young girls were killed and these far-right people are out there, screaming. But the Nigerian government has issued a tribal advisory to Nigerians to to avoid traveling to the United Kingdom at the moment. But let's take our story in Bangladesh. We'll head over there now, where the country's Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has resigned and fled the country after weeks of protests against a quota system for government jobs, descended into violence and grew into a broader challenge to her 15-year rule. Thousands of demonstrators stormed her official residence and other buildings associated with her party and family, well, according to reports. Violence just before and after her resignation have left at least 41 people dead and about 200 others injured. On Monday, hundreds of thousands of people poured into the streets, waving flags and cheering to celebrate her resignation. Well, all right, Rufai, power of protest.
Power of protest.
Power of
Truth
protest.
is also the reason. What are the lessons from Bangladesh? You need to listen to the poor people.
Absolutely.
You cannot say, in a country where you have a high unemployment number, was definitely, giving people a quota was definitely not the thing to do in a country where you had high unemployment number and people were really from poverty. So despite the fact that Bangladesh was doing well economically, the truth is, the wealth was not trickling down to the poorest of the poor. And people were really upset. And that's what happened to it. That's what led to it. And I'm going to tie it into our own too.
Yes.
We need to be able to learn that if the poorest of the poor, like the poor people that are carrying those flags, the Russian flags and the likes, and the people that all sorts of people are using now in the north to perpetrate all their terrible activities, if you do not work on the poverty of those people, then nothing will happen. So we need to be careful. And I'm also quickly going to tie it around to a story about, this ethnic rhetoric and the travel advisory in the UK, this ethnic rhetoric, they are not from here. We need to be very careful about statements like, because that's exactly what is happening in South Africa as regards the next story that we're going to be talking about this morning. That, because her father was Nigerian and all of that, then the next thing they are saying she can run in the South African contest. This is the same South Africa that at the apartheid struggle we housed them here. It was said that the likes of, what's his name now, Governor Mbekki's son, Thabo Mbeki, used to come to the Guardian office in the 80s. Used to come to the Guardian office and give you people, publications to help publish. He said in 1004 here.
Well, many South Africans.
Many of them were here. So them now saying that, because her father is Nigerian, her mother is Mozambican, she cannot run in Miss South Africa. They must have a rethink.
All right.
And we should stop this level of nationalism. It hurts.
Can I read the story or should we just discuss
Yeah,
it?
just
We'll take our final.
Nigerian scholarship. They
Yes.
were with us in Calabar.
Absolutely.
They will drink. All
right, let our viewers know what we are talking
They will
about.
take our guests,
Yeah.
which was a major
Do you want
issue.
our viewers to
Yeah,
know what
please,
they should
go
we
ahead.
put some
Yeah.
details for our
Yeah,
viewers,
put
or should
some
we
details,
discuss?
yeah.
Which one is it? We'll take our final story in South Africa, where 23-year-old Chidinma Adeshina, who has made it into the last 16 of the Miss South Africa competition, has been a target of social media users who believe that she should not be competing since both her parents are allegedly not from South Africa. The controversy came after it was revealed that Adeshina's father was Nigerian, while her mother was believed to be from Mozambique. However, organizers of the competition last week confirmed that Adeshina is indeed a South African citizen, her mother being South African, while her father is Nigerian. Some South Africans have called for her disqualification, while others have defended her, saying that she meets all the requirements to compete. The country's Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gatsin McKenzie, in a recent interview, said her eligibility gives funny vibes, generating more reactions. I mean, can you imagine a minister at this time? Ayo, quickly.
Very clear statement. And I must say that this also shows just the division amongst ourselves as African nations. They already said it, the organizer said it, that she has a South African passport. To all intents and purposes, she is South African. Yes, she was born in South Africa. She was raised in South Africa, even though by Nigerian parents. But my Nigerian father, but she has a South African passport. And just finally on what Mr. McKinsey said, I think that was a very irresponsible statement. In fact, after he said that, and then said, but I don't want to say anything until full investigation. After you have said.
Completely irresponsible. Very irresponsible. I mean, that was just, I mean, like you hit the nail on the head about, you know, the people that are monitoring South Africa, not really just, I mean, I think this is a time for unification within South Africa and Nigeria, because we've always had those issues. I don't know what you were saying, Dr. Abati, about our women.
First, this is about xenophobia.
Yes.
Two, we're told the father's name is Ben Dlamini. Which Nigerian name is Ben Dlamini?
No, the father is Nigerian.
So that's strange.
Well,
and in South Africa, you are South African by blood, not by soil.
Absolutely.
So this is the confusion.
Well, we go with the organizers. They've said that her mother is South African, her father is Nigerian.
Are they superior to government?
They have the documents. Well, all right. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. We do support Chidinma. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.